Hello, welcome to the Retired Farm Boy channel. My name is Jeff. Now, have you ever heard anybody say you get wiser as you get older? I know that's an old saying that you hear people say, maybe in a different way than what I said it, but some of it sometimes is said tongue-in-cheek. But I really do think there's some truth to that. So today's video is going to talk about the intangibles of retirement and how that might make us be a little bit wiser. So I want to start off by talking about the tangible things, and these are the things that you see most videos discuss. Finances obviously is the number one thing that's discussed. You know, when are you going to take your Social Security? How much is your nest egg? Have you got a budget established? What debt do you have? What's your net worth? All those kind of things come into play when people are talking about financial, and there's a million videos out there, it seems like, concerning all those different aspects of financial. Another big one obviously is health, because health is huge importance, maybe more importance than the financial side of it in some respects. But you know, that's a tangible thing. You can check your blood pressure, you can get your sugar tested, you can go have routine physical examinations to make sure that you're on track or you're not on track, and you can make adjustments based on that. So today I want to talk about the intangible side of things that you know, you may not think about much. So the intangibles are characteristics that can't be really seen or touched. And you can't really put a measure on them. But I think that as we talk about each one of these topics, characteristics of that, I want you to think about it in terms of, do they really, are these the kind of things that make you wiser or appear wiser? I'm not saying I'm wiser, but maybe it makes you appear wiser as you gain in age. So some people consider the intangibles somewhat as like the secret sauce of a person. So these are the kind of things that makes us all individual, makes us all who we are, and makes us add to what we are. So I want to talk about those topics today. So the first one I want to talk about is self-confidence. Now, I think in retirement, you gain self-confidence. I know that I have, because I feel like now I've accomplished, you know, something really wonderful. I've worked my whole career. I've saved accordingly. I've got myself in a position to where I can now retire, and I'm proud of that. I feel confident. I'm very pleased with what I've accomplished in my life. Now, we can all look back and say we wanted more and all this, but really, you know, once you get to retirement, you know, you should feel proud about what you've accomplished, because you have accomplished something that puts you at peace, that puts you to a point to where you feel like you can live out the rest of your life the way that you kind of sort of want to live out the rest of your life. Another one I want to talk about is patience. Do you gain patience in retirement? Man, I know I have. Not that I ever considered myself a real impatient person, but I know now, my wife is still working. A good example of this, my wife is still working, and we can travel and get into, say, you know, a traffic jam or in a wreck on the road. And, you know, it sort of gets to her still a little bit. For me, I just know that, hey, it's just part of it. It'll eventually clear. We can go on our way. We might be a few minutes late, but not a big deal. So there's no doubt that I feel like I've gained confidence in retirement, or patience rather, patience. And I think we all are able to accomplish that. And again, it makes us look wiser, because we're not so concerned about the day-to-day stuff that people in working situations, our kids, our grandkids, all these things that they're stressed about, you know, not a big deal for us, right? Positive personality. Now, I think this is very important. A person can have a positive personality, or they can have a negative one. I choose to have a positive personality, and I think when you retire, it's so much easier to be positive about things. I know the world is a lot different for me in retirement than it's going to be for my grandkids or how it was when I was growing up. But it does you no good to be negative about it. Be positive. take on the new ways of life and move on with them. I think it only makes you look more wise. I'll keep using that word as you age, when you have that positive outlook, and it really doesn't help anybody at all if you've got a negative outlook. So stay positive. That personality of a positiveness is really something that I think people really cling to and want and look up to. Emotional satisfaction and contentment, another one to talk about a little bit. So you can have that emotional satisfaction, I think, and be content because you've, again, as I've talked about, you've made it. You've got to where you want to be. You've built your resources. You've saved up, and now you're where you want to be, which is retirement. That's what we all work towards. You're here. You're emotionally satisfied. You're content. That's wonderful. Emotional intelligence. Sorry, almost skipped over it. Emotional intelligence. Now, my wife has her doctorate, and she did a thesis on emotional intelligence. And I didn't really understand what that was too much until she got into doing surveys and talking about emotional intelligence all the time there for a while. And, it's really where you have empathy for other people. It's where you can relate to other people. You can understand where they're at and what they're going through. And I think that's something, and when you're in retirement, you can sort of see that in a little bit different light than perhaps you could when you had a million things going on inside your mind. So I think emotional intelligence is another one of those things that really makes a huge difference in retirement. Creativity. You can sit back and understand things. I know when I was working and I've got a small farm, and I would be thinking at work about having to come home and do something on the farm. I can't say that I was very creative in some of the projects and things that I had to do. I just come home and I just bull rushed them, is what I call it. I just went at them as hard as I can to get them accomplished. I didn't really think in terms of like what was the best path for me to do long term. A good example for me, and this is a little different, I know, for most that don't understand the farm life too much, but I set up my barn with stalls and things like that for my sheep when I had my sheep in my sheep business, my sheep herd. And I went about it so quick. I had ewes that were ready to lamb. So I set up stalls just as quick as I could, not in the best way at all to where I could work the sheep and deal with them. So I didn't have that time to really sit back. I just went at it and did what I had to do. Now I can when it take on other projects, that's not one of them anymore, thank goodness. But I can sit back and think about what's the best way for me to do something that makes sense. Be more creative about it. Do something that, allowing some creativity and some future thinking when it comes to the way I go about doing things. Goodwill. You can be helpful. You can be cooperative. You can help others. You can reach out and you got the time to do well for others. And I think that's very important for all of us to learn. Let's do well for others. Let's just think about others as we go forward. I think that makes you look so much different in a better light. And I honestly feel like inside that you get more benefit out of helping others sometimes than you do in just keeping in your own lane and that kind of thing. Try to help others when you can. Know-how. Again, this goes back to the creativity thing a little bit. You're able to gain a little bit more expertise. For me, I watch videos a lot and I read a lot and that kind of thing, so I can learn how to go about doing things. I can learn about things that I want to do going forward, and be prepared more going forward. So I think that's very important. Energy. You have the able to be able to help others because you have more energy. You've got more time. You can put more effort into helping others, into doing things that you want to do for yourself. You've just got that more energy. And I think having that energy and all these other characteristics I talk about, they do make you look smarter. Integrity. And maybe this is the one that we like to all think about that we have. We're very respected. We're someone to look up to. I think that's very important, to have that mindset to where people look at you in that light. And I think these intangibles are things that I went through. Having that integrity for people to see that definitely makes you look wiser. So I hope these things have made a little bit of sense. It's sort of like I mentioned, the special sauce that makes us all a little bit better person. And I think they're very important for us to consider in retirement. I'm going to put a link to a video that I did. It's an older video that I did. It's called Getting Comfortable in Retirement. It's one that I did probably a year ago, but it sort of complements this. I hope that you will check in on that video and look at it and hopefully like it. Again, if you would, don't mind, like, subscribe. Please give me comments. I want to hear what you think about these intangibles. Tell me what you think about older and wiser, and I'm looking forward to those comments. Until next time, don't let the old man in.